So many people across the internet have discussed the possibility of a war in Kanto. Okay, this is all I could really find, but I'm sure if you look on some forums, you might be able to find some more. Okay, so people across the internet have discussed the possibility of a war in Kanto. And before we get into my twist on the theory, let's look at some of the generic points made by other people. Okay, so there's a lack of middle-aged men. So you have no father in the game, neither does your rival. The only men around are in occupations that would be necessary during war, like sailors, engineers, distributors of medicine and healing stuff. In fact, the only male trainers we really see are strong enough to be gym leaders, which could suggest only the tough ones survived the war. Other than that, we've got children and elderly men. Okay, so another point is lack of recreational locations. So after war, what are the priorities? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's usually food, water, shelter and health, which would explain why there's plenty of housing but no movie theatres, restaurants, pubs, stadiums or anything of that nature. In fact, the closest thing they have to it is a museum, and I guess you could argue Safari Zone, but all that is really a fenced off area that people are charged to get into. And finally, probably the most explicit point, Lieutenant Surge actually saying there was a war. He's quoted saying, "Electric type Pokemon saved me during the war." Okay, there's no beating around the bush, he did say war, so we do know there's a war, as he references it. Okay, that's good and all, but no one really expands upon that, including Lieutenant Surge. Who was the war against? Was it a civil war, and who won? Well, here's my theory. Ever wonder why Johto don't have their own Elite Four? Well, a lot of people seem to think that they do, and it consists of Will, Koga, Bruno, Karen, and finally Lance. But no, because that's the Kanto Elite Four, right?
But wait, everyone knows that Lorelei, Bruno, Agatha, Lance, and Red are the Kanto Elite Four.
Well, common misconception, there is no Kanto and Johto Elite Four. It is simply the Indigo League, or the Pokemon League.
Well, if they're the same, why is it a different lineup?
Well, things change over time. We see this in the gym leaders, it's bound to happen with the Elite Four as well. Okay, so you're not convinced? Why do you think Red and Lance share a battle theme? Their battle theme is the Indigo League Champion battle theme. And the only reason Blue doesn't share this is because he's your rival. So why do they have the same Pokemon League? So let's just establish something. The Pokemon League is essentially the governing body of an area. The champion being the president, or Prime Minister for you freedom-hating son bitches! The Elite Four being other popular choices for leaders who have major influence over the region, and the gym leaders being the local representatives. Yeah, okay, it's not a perfect system, not each area would get an actual local representative, their representative would be located in another town, so towns like Pallet sort of get screwed over a little bit. It allows for a 10-year-old to be in charge. I mean, if you're giving a child a monster, you may as well just let him run the country. I mean, it's a slippery slope, really. But it's kind of what the community seems to go with. I'm not the only person who have said it. There aren't really any other alternatives, so we'll just go with that. Okay, so Johto declares war on Kanto. Being the bad guys, of course they lose the war. And what this means is they are stripped of their Elite Four and Champion, only allowed to have local representatives. And they are now led by the former Kanto League, now named the Indigo League. And anyone who wishes to challenge the league can enter via collecting either all 8 Kanto or Johto badges. This could also explain some of the prejudice between the two regions and the pure black and white racism. That's like 2 jokes in one, and remember,
it don't matter if you're black or white.
So, do you think this theory is an interesting one? If so, please leave a like, it's very much appreciated. Subscribe for more. In fact, my next video will be talking about this theory more and the possibility of a new Pokemon prequel. Not an official one, may I add, but thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.